Welcome to this week's Your Practice Mastered podcast. Today, we're going to get into compensating your team through some sort of profit share. I'm going to give you the how to do it, a calculator if you want it. I'm going to talk about Rule 5.4 and why it's good for you, how the MSOs are getting around it, and how you could then leverage it to help yourself accomplish this goal. When I built the firm in Phoenix, I didn't have the benefit of the MSOs and the DSOs back then. They were just getting popular. And over the last 16 years, they really did take off. We were building a bankruptcy firm, quite frankly. Bankruptcy and criminal were the primary practice areas, and they got suspended. And so I decided, look, I'm going to pull the opinion, and I'm going to go look at it from perspective, okay, is there anything here that they got in trouble for that says I can't do this? Meaning, I can't, A, have non-attorney salespeople, and B, I can't build compensation plans. And so that was kind of the methodology I went with. So I did that, and I came with my own thoughts and opinions. Then we hired ethics counsel. So the lawyer that I was building this firm with was an ethics counsel and didn't have expertise in that area. So we needed to go hire an independent third party that would give us an opinion letter. And I just said, based on your opinion of how the law is interpreted, tell me how I can hire a non-attorney salesperson. Tell me how I can build compensation to share profit without sharing profit, but having it be a component of the measurement that we use. Notice what I didn't do. I didn't call the Bar Association and ask them, can I do this? Because we know the answer would just be no. Or maybe they get back to me in 2 months and say, you should really check with your own counsel. I didn't ask for permission. I went and got an opinion letter to tell me how I could do it. And then I built it that way. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice. You need to do this step on your own, all right? Every jurisdiction, every bar association, everybody's different. But I will tell you that I've been doing this now for 15 years and working with attorneys in every state in the country. And I've not had a law firm tell me they can't because they couldn't get an opinion letter dealt with from ethics counsel. They cannot have non-attorney salespeople. I haven't had somebody tell me they can't find a way to compensate for building some sort of revenue consideration into compensation. Everybody that went to ethics counsel to figure it out has been able to figure it out. The entrepreneur is figuring out how to do it. The lawyer is trying to figure out how I can't do it. It's very important you go out and you ask ethics counsel on how you can go about building this. Here's what they basically told me. They said, listen, you can do this in one of two ways. One way is to have a separate company. This is the complicated way, but cleaner. Separate company that employs the non-attorney staff. And then you invoice the law firm. And at the end of a period of time, you have to agree on some sort of roundup based on what the estimated value were. And you're using back office math, estimated values based on revenue generated. That's how MSOs are doing it today. Now, state by state, situations are different. Just know that fundamentally you can create a separate company. You could do it that way. The other way they told us to do it is they said, listen, just don't make it the primary point of compensation. There's lots of reasons why you can bonus staff, whether they're on time, whether they do their job in accordance, how much rework is there in salespersons, do they follow their script? What was their close rate? You can determine if they hit the proper sales value or the proper amount of money down. Then you can make a list of all of these things, how they are in the office, their overall behavior, their the goodwill ambassador of the firm. You can build a checklist of items of the way in which they are judged based on their bonus. If you hit these things, then you'll get this bonus. You reverse engineer the bonus to match sales volume based on what you think they're going to do. It's pretty straightforward. I knew that I could put a sales professional in 50 consults a week. I was going to get a 60% show rate. We were going to close at 70%. Case value was $3,000. So we knew we were going to generate $60,000 a week in revenue or in gross sales. We knew about what we wanted to pay a salesperson as a percentage of gross sales. By the way, we have a whole calculator for that, which you can get in another video. Today, I'm going to share with you a calculator that's different than this. If you have any questions about about this or you're looking for some free resources, visit us at thelawfirmsecret.com. Happy to walk alongside you and help you accomplish your goals. Okay, so the bonus wasn't about revenue generated. The bonus was about all these things. We just happened to determine the bonus based on money, right? And ethics opinion was like, I don't need to know how you come up with your number. I just need to know what criteria they have to hit to get their bonus. So I formulated the bonus numbers. I created the items of things that they had to be present on every week, month, quarter, whatever. And then if they hit those check marks, they got their bonus. You need to figure out for yourself how to do that. Now, there's a whole other calculation principle here. So that's pretty straightforward for non-attorney salespeople, right? Any other type of employee in your firm, the way in which you'll go about bonusing them is one of two ways, either separating your non-attorneys out into another company and following it through an MSO guideline and actually building a compensation package through that secondary employment company. That's option A. Option B, employing them in your same company, in your same PLLC, and developing a checklist of things, guidelines they have to meet in order to be considered for the bonus. You want to build bonuses for them, and you want to do it, let's say, quarterly. If you go back to the leadership principles that Simon Sinek talks about, he talks about the circle of safety. Fundamentally, what your staff really want is to feel like they're seen, heard, and they're understood. They just want to know that they're fairly treated in the way that they work. You want to be able to have a conversation with them about profit. If you talk about profit with your team and they don't see some way that they're benefiting from the profit other than you're getting a nicer car, you're taking a nicer vacation, you're making more money, then it's going to be really hard for them to have a meaningful conversation about profit. But when you create an environment where they're compensated based on profit and they know that there's some sort of profit calculation going into their compensation, now all of a sudden we can have conversations why this behavior generates more profit, this behavior generates less profit. So now we can talk to them from the perspective of, rather than top-down leadership, bottom-up thought processes that say, listen, I need you to help me understand how to come up with ways to generate more profit in the way that you do your job. And it's good for you, the crew. It's good for the company because we can do better things. Quite frankly, it's better for the client because if we're a profitable firm, we can serve them at the highest possible level. So it's got to be good for all three, the crew, the company, and the client, right? The only way we can talk about that is if the crew actually feels like they're being compensated with some of the profit. So how do you compensate them with some of the profit according to Rule 5.4? You do need a way to calculate this. You can go in the link in the description and you can request a copy of the tool. Here's what I call a law firm profit sharing template. Inside of this template, up top, you have total profit for the period. So it's just how often do you want to share profit? And then you have to ask yourself, what percentage of that profit do you want to give? I don't believe you need to tell your team how much you give as a percentage. It's a very private decision on your behalf. And you just have to decide what way is best for you to determine how much profit you give up. I would also say be careful with how much you share. You got to put some thought into this, but I want to give you at least a basic framework as to how to think about it so you can start messing with these numbers. Let's say you make $200,000. Let's say it's for a quarter. Let's say you're going to give 5%. That 5% equals $10,000. This is the straight line profit. And then over here, we have who's our team members. And then we have what is their monthly pay, right? Now, you can see this monthly pay is $29,000. This monthly pay is $54,17. John Smith makes about $60,000 a year in the US, and the monthly pay, by the way, it's all in, it's taxes and everything. So it costs the company to pay them. That's $5,417 is what it costs the company to pay John. His salary might only be $60,000, but of course there's taxes, right? Now, Alejandro works in Mexico, and maybe his compensation is 23,000 pesos, but 30% of that is taxes. So it comes out to, say, $29,000 in total pesos. I then convert everybody to USD. This is important because you don't want to compensate somebody in Mexico or the Philippines or Central America in US dollars. So we identify their currency, right? We have 3 employees in the US, 2 employees in Mexico, and 1 employee in the Philippines. We have 6 total employees, non-attorneys, non-salespeople necessarily. You could put salespeople in here depending on how you're compensating them too, but you got to be careful because you are compensating salespeople probably in some way around revenue. But anyway, you're building out this compensation package and you're saying, okay, the Mexican to USD based on this quarter was 18 to 1. And so this has got to be updated every quarter, right? Because this changes. And the Philippines to US dollars was 59. So then what we do is we just do that basic math, and the calculators are already built in there for you. And what happens is these dollars total up your total monthly in this period, if this is a quarterly period, whatever. So this gives us our total, all right? And then what we're saying is, okay, what is John's pay as a percentage of the total? What is Maria's pay as a percentage of the total? And you can see John, because he's US based, and Mary and James, their percentage of the total is higher, and Alejandro, Mary's, and Jose's percentages are lower. That's global labor markets, right? So now what we have is these percentages. You have two ways to do it. You have a straight bonus way to bonus them. You have a tiered bonus way to do it. Rule 5.4. We either got to get them out of the company into another third-party company, or we got to have this checklist of things that they're going to do that they're going to be considered over and above, and we're just using this bonus amount, and this is how we're calculating the bonus amount based on revenue and earnings and all that stuff. We're allocating a bonus and we're saying, in order to be eligible for this bonus, you have to do these things. Again, get Ethics Council, figure out how to do it. But you have two fundamental ways to bonus them. You can bonus them with a straight bonus, which basically says John represents 27% of the total payroll. We're going to take 27% of $10,000, which is the bonus we decided to give, and John would get $2,700. Everybody would get what their percentage is. Now, what's interesting is that the $2,700 represents 49% of John's pay. What's interesting is Alejandro, the $800, even though it's much less than the $2,700 for John, it still represents 49% of Alejandro's pay. So we're not being unfair. They're still receiving the same bonus amount as a percentage of their overall pay. They're just getting paid using US dollars as a calculation, but then you would later, in order to compensate them, you would take that $800, multiply it by the 18, and you'd be paying them that money, pesos or Philippine dollars, as far as a bonus is concerned. Okay, that's the straight way to do it. There's a tiered way to do it. Let's assume you want to say, you know what, quarter by quarter, I have different levels of A players. I have some players that shine in certain quarters, and I want to reward them a little bit more. And there are some players in any particular quarter that haven't played full out, and I want to reward them less. Okay? So what you would do in that case is create a tier. So I created tier 1, 2, and 3. And you can see that those tiers equal $10,000. So when I total them up, they still equal $10,000 as a total tier. What I did instead is I said, okay, I've got 6 people. 2 people are going to be in tier 1, 2 people are going to be in tier 2, 2 people are going to be in tier 3. So in tier 1, I allocated 50% in tier 1, 30% in tier 2, 20% in tier 3. Now, what's John's salary as a percentage of John and Maria's salary combined? Then I multiply that times tier 1. And that's how I come up with this. You can see that the compensation is equal by tiers, which is really important. This is a calculator you can use, you could play with, and it'll help you understand how to build out a compensation plan for your team. It didn't talk about how you should determine how much of that profitability you should share. That's a personal decision. You have to take into consideration the size of your company and how your bonus is going to affect your overall compensation for your team. But it did show you how to accurately weight the calculation for your team and how you can build it either on straight line or on tiers for your team. And you just have to understand that you have to do this every time you're going to do a bonus. I hope this helps make sense to you of something that's a real controversial and gray area. But look, in business, there's got to be a way to get your team a share of the win, and not just in kudos and attaboys. We have to be able to let your team win financially as well. And the way you go about doing it is talking to your ethics council to figure out how to make it happen. If you have any questions about this or you're looking for some free resources, visit us at thelawfirmsecret.com. I promise you, if you take the time to put some thought into this, it'll make sense. You're going to start to appreciate your overall profitability more, and you're going to start to understand your business more. It's going to make you a better business owner, in addition to a better leader, and it's going to build a stronger team and a stronger culture. Happy to walk alongside you and help you accomplish your goals as you build into the new year.